Aries, this is your tarot reading for November. When I saw the cards or the energies coming out, and I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about all signs, there was a sort of a deja vu. It was like, oh, what's happening? And it was almost like global events are affecting everybody. Although I must say that it feels like they're affecting people in a much more personal way. And I think that's probably applies to you. I've got to say, whilst I can see energies that I can see happening for other signs, which is this sort of real deja vu I'm having at the moment, I've got to say that I can't, at this moment, make much sense of, well, I can make sense of it, but I can't tell a narrative at this moment about the energies I see. That central card, the Eight of Pentacles, learning something. A paradigm has ended, a new one has begun, and we do need new skills for it, undoubtedly. This card has been coming up a lot. But for this card to be here and to dominate, it's saying it's very important. In the past, you were looking for something creative. I suspect you found it. I suspect you're somewhat on top of what's going on. And I think you've learned that, yes, we've all been manipulated, lied to and cheated, but you're learning to put up barriers or boundaries. There is a suggestion that they might be too strong. In the future, it sees you having great direction and balance and moving with great pace, so a very positive energy. The energy that leads to the outcome is you struggling a bit, struggling to do everything that you need to do. It's almost a work-life balance type card. I don't see it that negatively. It normally means you're going to overcome it. But if you remember that Queen of Swords, which was about you putting up boundaries, I wonder if you put up too many, because we now have the Eight of Swords, which would change the outcome. This is saying that you're restricting yourself over something, maybe restricting yourself too much. The outcome isn't a bad outcome, but maybe there's a warning in it. And the outcome is that of the Knight of Wands, bold and brave, but does tend to rush into things. Now, if you remember, we had the Chariot, which there was a real sense of pace with. Are you going off in the wrong direction? I don't know. At this stage, as I say, I haven't got a narrative for you. I can only repeat the energies to you. So let's do this together. Let's go through all of the energies and see what sense we can make of it, Aries. Now, the overall energy is that of the Eight of Pentacles. It normally means learning a new skill or trade, and I think it probably does mean that, but it is cropping up a lot at the moment. And as I say, we know that one cycle has ended and a new one's begun, and we're going to have to learn new things for it. And we're all going to have to adapt. And it could be a little bit laborious. When we're acquiring these new skills, it can be a bit of hard work, and you're saying to yourself, is it going to be worth it? Because none of us really know the absolute direction of this new epoch, although there are very strong indications coming out now. We're beginning to grasp it, but are we doing the right thing? And you must at times feel like packing it in, and that energy runs throughout all of this. I'm certain it's the right thing to be doing, but you must have your doubts at times. You must have your doubts, and because it's cupping up so much, I just want to say that maybe it isn't so much a new skill as learning new ways of thinking, new ways of seeing the world, new ways of seeing human relationships, new ways of seeing everything, really. I wonder, I don't know. Now, one of the energies that at least makes me think that you have grasped some of what's required in this new cycle is that in the past we have the energy of the Knight of Cups, going out and looking for creative solutions. Now, if a paradigm has ended and a new one's begun, things will change so much. We have to be creative in how we see things, creative in how we analyse things. So I think you've done exactly the right thing, and you know, as I say, I'm sure the learning is exactly the right thing. I'm sure you've got a reasonable grasp on things. I don't know as you've got a totally firm grasp, but I'm sure you've got a reasonable grasp of them. And I think it is because you have been creative in your thinking. Now, the Queen of Swords is a wonderful card. I mean, she's loved by people. She's firm but fair, but people just love her for it. You know where you stand with her. But she's a queen that sets boundaries. And we have been getting messages, you know, it's probably other signs, not you, but we have been getting messages from the universe that actually setting too strong a boundary around yourself, even though you've been manipulated, you've been abused, you know, to a certain degree we need a childlike innocence in how we work with others, in how we approach others. That if we approach everybody with a degree of fear, which is what we've been taught in this last epoch, things won't go well for us. But if we're much more open and honest, things will go better. So I just wonder if this isn't quite as good a card as it seems. I mean, normally I'd say it's a great card because you've learned how to deal with situations, but I wonder if you've learnt to be a little bit too firm. The future energy, we have the Chariot, and again it's normally seen as a wonderful energy. It's an energy of balance. You look, one white horse, one black horse, a Hindu temple, a Buddhist temple. Very much in control, hands on the reins, so you're in control, you've got balance. And you're going in a direction with a degree of pace. So it's normally seen that, you know, you've really finally worked it out and you're going and you know what you're doing and you're going off quickly. And I don't know, I've just got a slight misgiving about it. I don't know if you're not going off in the wrong direction. It's just a feeling I've got. So it's a bit like that Queen, you know, it is a lovely energy. But I've just got a feeling that it can be overdone. Now, I'm getting worried over good cards. I mean, there's no good and bad in tarot, and, you know, tarot readers will tell you that, and it is true, you know, but I'm getting worried over cards that are normally seen as very positive. And here's a card that isn't so positive, and I'm not concerned about it. But it does lead to the outcome, and it does indicate to me that things aren't quite as rosy as they might seem. Because it's a card of a degree of struggle. Struggling to do all that you have to do. Well, you know, we've said that you're learning new skills. And we've also said that, you know, you're putting up boundaries to others. So maybe things aren't going as swimmingly as they might be. You look at him, he's juggling with those pentacles, but he's juggling with those pentacles along a seashore. Juggling with those pentacles along a seashore barefoot. Now, I personally, and I suppose it's just me, but I find it really difficult to walk along a seashore barefoot, let alone juggling. So it can't be easy. You are struggling a bit with life. But normally I say with this card, you do come out on top. You do. You overcome your problems, you know. You get on with it, and you do get through it. But I wonder if it's been such a struggle, you know. I think the struggle will end, but it sends you off somewhat in the wrong direction. And the other card, I suppose, that, you know, is often a cause of some concern is I was going to say it's the 8, but it's not, is it? Is it a, yeah, the 8 of Swords, sorry. The 8 of Swords, and it's a card of self-imposed restrictions. I mean, she's blindfolded, she's tied up, she's got those swords behind her. Is the tide going in or out? Well, if it's coming in, it could be dangerous. If she took the blindfold off, she would see that lovely village up above her head. A bit of a struggle to get there, so remember the last card, that struggle. Bit of a struggle to get to where you're going, but it would be a sensible thing to do. But you're restricting yourself. And if you remember, that Queen of Swords was about putting up barriers to others. I mean, this is barriers to yourself, but I wonder if in putting up barriers to others, you're putting up barriers to opportunities. I wonder. And you see, the outcome isn't a bad outcome, but it does come with a warning. It's the Knight of Wands, and he's brave and he's fearless, but he does rush into things. You look, he's going quickly on that horse, going into battle, absolutely fearless, armed only with a stick. Is this a warning to you? I think it might be. I think it might be. And if you remember, I was concerned about going off in the wrong direction with that Chariot card. So I think there are some warnings here. I don't think they're major warnings. I don't want to make too big of it. But I think there is. There are a few warnings here. There are a few things that make me think, this isn't quite what I thought it was. Look, I've still not grasped it all, so I'm going to have to get some clarity. So I'm seeking clarity on this 8 of Swords. And the first card of clarity we get is another Knight of Wands. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Because the 8 of Swords prevents the Knight of Wands, and the Knight of Wands causes the 8 of Swords. So it's a circulatory argument, isn't it? I don't get it. Moving too slowly, too quickly, causes the 8 of Swords. Jumping to conclusions, maybe. And it's happening because of the Wheel of Fortune. Well, you know, this is about epochs ending and new ones beginning. It should bring luck with it as well. A resistance to change. A rushing into things, but rushing into a resistance, of course. The Queen of Swords is putting up barriers, and this is your personal barriers. You're resisting change. Yeah, resisting. You're jumping to it though. You're not even sort of analysing the change. You're just resisting it. And why are you doing it? It's to do with money, I think. You're worried about the future in terms of money. You're worried about how you're going to find money. Remember, the overall thing is learning new skills. You're worried how you're going to live in the future. Yeah. Let's look at each individually. So if you remember, we're clarifying why you've put self-imposed restrictions. And clarification is first clarification is the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is bold, he's brave, but he's reckless. Jumping to conclusions. So I think you've put up these boundaries because you've jumped to conclusions about the changes that are going on in the world seeing them somewhat negatively and are resisting them. That's what I believe is happening. You're resisting the changes because you're jumping to conclusions, jumping too quickly to them. Even though I think you've got a reasonable handle of what's going on, you're still jumping to conclusions, and that's causing these problems. And the reason for all of this sort of barriers, jumping to conclusions, uncertainty is, I mean, as I say, you do know that a cycle has come to an end. You do understand it. You do know you've got to do something about it. You've got to change. But you're a little bit reluctant. You're a little bit worried. You don't want to jump into the new cycle. Like us all, you're that little bit conservative, a little bit worried. Can I make it within the new cycle? But you can't go backwards. So you can't really resist the change. So yeah, you're that little bit resistant to change, and you're putting up barriers, unfortunately. Now, the final card of clarification is this Page of Pentacles, and I said it's because you're worried about money, and it could be that, because it could be about financial manifestation. It could be a looking for money card, and that's how I normally see it. So it could be that's the reason you put up barriers. You're worried about how you're going to live in the future, because things are changing dramatically, And the other alternative is it could be about skills development. Well, remember, the overall energy is about learning new skills. Are you concerned about your ability to learn new skills for the future? Could that be what's driving your barriers and reluctance? Maybe like me, you're an old man. Maybe like me, or even though, good heavens, I grew up with the internet. I was an early pioneer. I had internet businesses. I am highly sophisticated digitally. But the world is just passing me by. I went to get some photocopies done the other day, and they want me to integrate with their system by scanning, and it's like I don't like scanning anything. I don't like putting too much on my phone at all. I don't want to scan. I don't want to have to take my phone with me when I go to get something photocopied. And why do I want to be a part of their queuing system? It doesn't bloody work anyway. What possible reason do I have? And I just think to myself, go out and buy a copy of yourself so that you don't have to go through this. And I'm sure I can't be alone in just thinking, why am I having to learn these things? Aries, I have to say, as I've got into this reading, I found it slightly sad. You know that a cycle has ended and a new one's begun, and you do understand it, but you're somewhat resistant to change. You're going to have to learn new skills, but you're thinking to yourself, why should I? You're thinking to yourself, what was wrong with how we did things before? And you're putting up barriers, both to yourself, but also to other people. And in doing so, I think you're missing out on a lot. You sound a bit like me, I can't see the point of most new technology. If you think of sort of ride-hailing apps, in Jakarta now, it's more difficult to get a ride than it was before they appeared. The cost has gone up rather than down now. So overall, I'd say they are less convenient than when we used to go out and flag a taxi. And I've just got that feeling about almost all new technology. I mean, most people seem to just throw themselves into it. Young people. But I just look at it and go, why? Why do I have to scan everything? And I think that's you. And there's a danger, I think, of you running off in the wrong direction. Like there is me, if I just oppose all technology and all changes, I'm going to end up in an even worse state than I am now, unable to do anything. I already hardly buy anything. There's a whole pile of things I no longer do because I just couldn't be bothered with the technology, And I've got the feeling that maybe that's you. I'm sorry to say, Aries. Yeah, I think you might run off in the wrong direction. I think you jump to conclusion. Well, you are struggling a bit for sure, but I think you jump to conclusions, and sometimes they're the wrong conclusions, and as a result of them, you put up unnecessary barriers. And I know I myself do exactly that. Now, you might be a young person, you might not be my age, but you're still doing it. You're still resistant to change and reluctant to change. And some of the change could be for the better. But whether it's for the better or not, it's inevitable. And you can either go with it or you can be like me and increasingly excluded from the rest of the world.